Hi, my name is Liz, and this is Lizard Goats, and today I want to talk about this book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. It's a very intriguing book. I literally just finished reading it about 20 minutes ago, and it seems to me to be this sort of commentary on how ideas gain more agency than the intention behind them. And I don't know if I can explain that any better. It's sort of an abstract thought. But the idea in the book is that flight is this perfect thing. And Jonathan, unlike others in his flock, wants to learn how to fly perfectly. And I think by perfectly, he means more than the confines of maneuvers or speed, but to reach this sort of enlightenment within flight, this perfect idea of flight, this epitome of happiness even. But those in his flock don't agree with him, and they feel like flying should just be flying. It's only there to serve the purpose of eating, which is way more important. And so they send him as an outcast, and he lives by himself and continues to hone this idea of perfection and lives a very happy and fulfilled life. And then he seems to reach this new plane of existence. He calls it heaven at first, but it's soon apparent that it's not heaven in the traditional sense. It's like he's ascended, like a Buddha or something. I'm not entirely sure. But he reaches this plane and he becomes an even better flyer. You know, flight becomes magical, mystical. He can fly through space and time. It's very Doctor Who. But then he chooses to go back. He goes back to this, sundry plane of existence that he started on, goes back to his original flock, in fact, that had put him as an outcast, and he teaches them the ways of flight, this perfect flight. And he gains students, and he gains a following, but soon the following becomes rather corrupted. And this is where the idea of agency of ideas comes in. The idea of perfect flight becomes more important than achieving perfect flight. For his followers, his disciples, if you will, he becomes almost a deity, which he doesn't want, and it's not the point. And they worship him, and they soon forget what he's taught them about learning to fly, because learning to fly in this perfect abstract concept does start with just learning to fly. And then the story turns, and it turns to one of his students, Fletcher, and his end, his ascension, if you will, to perfect flight. It's an odd book. I've read it before, in fact. I read it in college once. Though the edition I have now is includes a rediscovered part 4, which includes Fletcher's story at the end and how he teaches another student, if you will, who in his own turn rejects the sort of dogma built up around Jonathan Livingston Seagull and returns to just this idea of flight as flight. He's like, I don't want any of this hocus pocus rigmarole. I want to learn to fly. I want to achieve perfect transcendental flight, if you will. And it's almost a circular idea. If we equate it to religion, it's the message turns into the dogma, which eventually turns back into the message, if you will. That's a very, very simplistic way of putting it, I know. But it's what I've taken from it. This edition also includes a bunch of photographs of seagulls, which personally I found unnecessary. I don't mind illustrations in books. In fact, I love illustrations in books. But this photography didn't really seem to have anything to do with the narrative. It was just like, oh, seagulls. Ooh, I don't know. But I did enjoy the book, and it's really got me thinking about a lot of stuff. And that's what I read for. I read in order to think. And now my mind is just crammed full of these not knowable, but unexplainable, badly explained ideas about what I've taken from the narrative. But suffice it to say, I did enjoy it, and I'm glad I reread it, because I didn't really remember what it was about. Anyhow, I hope you all have a great night in internet land, and thank you for joining me here at Lizard Goats. Bye-bye.